Welcome to Hope Through the Hard, a curated coalition podcast where we talk honestly about life struggles and how to face them in healthy, hope-filled ways. In 2 Corinthians 4, Paul says, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." That's the purpose of this space. Real conversations about the hard things in life and the hope that carries us through. Visit curatedcoalition.com to find our coaching services and book a free consultation.
Hi, I'm Levi. This is Ashley, and we have Lincoln helping with production today. And thank you for joining us. Kid question?
Good question.
Would you rather live in Moscow with a house that stays at 100 degrees or stay in Egypt in a house that is 30 degrees? Also, you cannot leave your house unless you're getting groceries. Do I have to pay the electric bill on either one of these?
I don't know.
Moscow at 100 degrees in the wintertime?
These are not very realistic locations and temperatures.
Right.
So
And then Egypt in the summertime at 30 degrees? Wow. I'd be living in the ground.
I mean,
Probably for both of them.
Moscow is fine with me, I guess. I mean, I don't know that Moscow ever would have been on the top of my list, but I don't wish to do 30-degree anything. So I'm out.
Yeah, that's rough. That's a rough one. Except for getting groceries, which then I would make it a daily meal routine
We wouldn't
for
meal
every
prep,
meal.
meal plan anymore.
No, it'd be like every meal I've got to go out
I've got to
thaw.
go
Or I've got to go out and
cool off.
100 degrees. Nobody would be coming to our house because we'd be just in our underwear. But at 100
I'm
degrees.
still going with Moscow. You can go with 30-degree Egypt if you want, but I'm out on that.
Okay. We'll go to Moscow. That's all right. I guess.
He's behind this. I wish
cracking himself up.
I wish that we could show you Lincoln right now because he is like doubled over cackling at himself. So.
He's proud of himself. Crazy question.
Oh, it was an interesting question, Bubba. Oh, okay. So we're going to jump into today. We're talking about boundaries at the holidays, probably most specifically with family.
Yeah.
Because that's generally where we are for holidays, is with family. So the real thing to think about is, why is it that this holiday time, the time that's supposed to be about peace and about joy and about connecting with family, really just feels like a minefield? Like you're not going home or you're not going to visit family. You're walking into a minefield. Most people love their families if they haven't experienced horrific abuse. You love your family, but those emotional landmines are very real for most people. So today we're going to talk about, what does it mean to set godly boundaries, and then how do we have a holiday season without guilt or fear or manipulation?
Right. Yeah. And the kind of hit point number one is why. Why have boundaries? Holidays are massive, intensive, dynamic areas where control, guilt, and people pleasing and manipulation happens all the time because everybody's trying to figure out control. What does it look like? Here's the dynamics. It's all changed whenever you move out of your house. And so why do we need to set them? Because it's a new environment. It's a new setup. Doctors Cloud and Townsend reminds us boundaries define us. They define what is me and what is not me. Yeah.
And I think the way that they describe that in their book called Boundaries is that boundaries are sort of like property lines. And so you can think when you buy a house, like we bought this house not that long ago, about a year and a few months ago. And that was one of the things that you specifically did. You were out in the yard, measuring where does our property line start? Where does it end? Where's the neighbor's start? What is our space and what is the neighbor's space?
Right.
What belongs to us? And that's sort of how a really great way, I think, to think about boundaries. You want to know where your yard ends so that your dog isn't pottying in your neighbor's yard. Or if they are pottying in the neighbor's yard, you are picking that up before you pick up the rest of it.
Yes.
Like, you want to know where you have to mow and where you don't have to mow. You don't want your lawn crew like putting ruts and divots into your neighbor's lawn.
Right. My lawn crew of Lincoln.
Yes, we are one of the few where we live who has a lawn crew that's a child. Like, most of the people who live around us are older, and so they hire it done. And so, but it's important to know what's yours and what's not yours. And so boundaries sort of are that function in our emotional lives. They protect what is your life and what isn't your life. The really nice thing is, unlike property lines that don't change, like, you're not going to change property lines unless you're buying land from your neighbor, right? So unlike property lines that don't change, boundaries can change. When you have a capacity change, or when someone's behavior adjusts to something that you can work within, or when you feel like the Holy Spirit is prompting you, you can change your boundaries.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and as kids, whenever we're growing up, we probably don't know the boundaries that have been set up from our family, our parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles. We just go and show up to those family events, and we don't know what's different. We don't understand the different scenarios or drama or not. But I think one of the best times to start setting up boundaries is when you do get married. And you are introducing now maybe one family, if not two families, this new relationship that's together. And with that, figuring out your own boundaries of, here's the holidays, where are we going? Because I remember we constantly would struggle back and forth of
such
this
a
and
nightmare.
that, and try to figure out your own traditions, which I love to have our own traditions. We loved our traditions growing up of what we did. And then it became, well, now I have to go to this house, but it's different. And that's the best time to really say, hey, we're married now. We've got our own traditions. We need to set up some boundaries of, here's what we're going to do with family and when.
Yeah. I just had that conversation with Adeline a few minutes ago. Like, you need to start thinking about this. If you desire to get married in the future, when are you going to spend time at his house? Because you do need to spend time at his house. When are you going to spend time here? We'd love to see you. Like, we'll take you whenever we can. But you also need to make time to spend time with his parents, his grandparents, his siblings. Like, that's an important thing. And so building your own boundaries so that we don't hijack, or, you know, like, because that I love my daughter. I would spend all the time with my daughter. That's not fair. And so, like, I have to recognize that. I also want her to have a relationship with his family. And that's incredibly important. And so encouraging her to start thinking about that now, so that she doesn't step on their traditions, and establishing their own. Like, what do you want when you get married? Those are good things to think about. So, I think one of the best things that you can do is to identify what drains your emotional energy before you even get there. And if you don't know, like, take an inventory. Like, are you feeling overwhelmed with tons of people in the kitchen? Does the laundry overwhelm you when you get home? Like, what are the things that you can do to reduce, and what are the things that drain you? Then decide whether those are boundary issues. If that's a logistical issue, like laundry, like, okay, do a little while you're gone. But if it's a boundary issue, okay, maybe it's a communication issue. Maybe it's that you need to set a boundary and communicate it. Because sometimes simply letting the other person know that you have a boundary enables you to show up healthier version of yourself. And so Lisa Turkhurst, in her book, Good Boundaries and Goodbyes, says we can love people deeply without handing them control to our peace. And that if people could just get a handle on that, like, you can love someone and not let them have access to your emotional health. Okay, all you need is a boundary.
Second teaching point, 3 common boundary violations during the holidays. 1's emotional overreach, 2, unrealistic expectations, and 3, the guilt as manipulation. some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
So emotional overreach, family members commenting on your parenting, of what you're doing right or wrong, your life choices of what you're doing with your career, or just some of the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
It can be some big stuff, or what you're eating. I know whenever we transitioned to our different diet, family members, and we would show up and we would have to eat something different, was always a big concern of what they would look at us and say, "Oh, you're doing what? You're not going to eat our food?" Well, no, because we can't.
Yeah.
we cut this stuff out, and so we had to draw up the boundaries. And they're going to look down on some of the stuff because they don't understand.
Yeah.
Whether that's a communication thing or they just refuse not to understand.
Yeah, exactly. So unrealistic expectations, that's really a hard thing for a lot of people pleasers, recovering people pleasers.
Yes, me.
That's you. So a lot of times people feel the pressure to say yes when they want to say no, and they say yes to every request. I learned this fairly soon after we had Adeline, that I had physical limitations that, and I had to sort of just say, like, I can't do this anymore. Adeline was an early December baby. And so it was also one of those like really tough deliveries. And I was still very much in the recovery phase when it was time to travel for Christmas, her first Christmas. I mean, she was a newborn, and we had family who expected to get to see her, and made that abundantly clear that I was expected to bring that baby so that they could have access to the baby, even though I couldn't sit. I had to sit for 4 hours in a truck, like on back roads. And it was incredibly taxing. That would have been a great time for me to have had a boundary and to have said, I love you so much. I'm so excited for you to get to meet this baby and to have Christmas with you. Could we do that in January or February when I can function? That'd be super helpful.
Yeah. Because that's another time of looking at when do you set up some boundaries is whenever you have kids.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your capacity changes immensely.
Big time.
Yeah.
And understand grandparents want to see their kids, want to see their grandkids, especially when that's happening. And with that, here's some reasons of what takes place. Is number 3 is guilt by manipulation. And so it's Christmas time. Can't you come just this one time? My dad, because of the traditions of what we had, we didn't open up Christmas presents until Christmas Day. And he kind of made a comment one year of, well, you have to be at my house to open up my Christmas presents on Christmas Day.
Or you don't get them.
You don't get them. It's like, okay, Dad. Not going to happen. And I think we got snowed in at your parents' house one Christmas and didn't make it there. And it's the guilt, right? Because they want to see everybody, but guilt can be heavy and used to manipulate a lot of different things. And that's not cool. And the boundaries have to be drawn up. Hey, I'm not going to feel guilty because you want something and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Or I don't have the capacity to do that.
Well, and I think a lot of times that guilt hangs on. Like you have remembered that for like 15 years or longer, and because it really affected you. That comment, you have to be here or else, like that really affected you. It bothered you.
Well, yeah, it bothered me, and because part of it's because I didn't understand boundaries.
Yeah.
Of saying, nah.
Yeah.
This isn't really gonna, because he didn't mean it. If we show up the next day, he's still gonna let us open up the presents.
Of course.
It's just the trying to say, hey, I want to see you on Christmas Day, because he loved the traditions of what we had growing up.
But a great way to have phrased that would have been, I'm so sorry that we're not going to get to see you. Right. Mostly because I really selfishly want to see you and the kids on Christmas morning. Yeah. But we'll make the best of it. Right. Like that would be a much more responsible way for a parent to communicate. I really want to see you and do Christmas presents with you.
And I can understand it because you have kids and you have them for 18 years, and then all of a sudden Christmas morning or Thanksgiving Day, if nobody's here and family's here, I can be lonely. Yeah. Which I understand why these different ways of manipulating and and guilt and everything else might be used because of that loneliness.
Yeah. Well, but I think that loneliness is a good thing to bring up here because we're doing something that we've never done before. The night before Thanksgiving, one of my friends has a tradition that they do appetizers for dinner, and they just make a ton of appetizers and they play games. And they've got 6 kids, but 4 of them are out of the house and they're off with their own families now. And so they're not returning for that tradition. And so she just said, she's like, I want to continue the tradition, but my kids are gone and it feels, and she paused and I was like, lonely? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll be there then. Like, great. I would love nothing more to participate in this tradition with you. Right. And so there's ways to combat that loneliness. Right. You can include other families. There's lots, and we're going to talk in December. We're going to do a full episode on traditions because it is so important. But I think that there's ways to combat that loneliness without using guilt to manipulate people to do what you want them to do.
Right.
Okay, so one of the times that I remember saying yes out of guilt and it being really depleting, and this was something that you tried to put your foot down on, and I sort of bucked you a little bit and then wished that I had it.
No, never.
But it was one of the years that Christmas fell on Sunday when you were still in ministry full time. And so we ended up having to go to church where you had to work. And I had to help in the children's department. The kids were all in there. We were still trying to do our own family Christmas. And then we had to travel for Christmas with family. And you tried to say, let's stay home this Christmas. And I was like, no, I mean, my grandparents are still alive. I think it would be good if we tried to go back because I don't know how much longer we're going to have my grandparents. And we did. And you don't show up your best self. And so it ends up becoming one of those emotional landmines because you're not your best self and you're adding that into everybody else's like high emotions, good or bad.
Right.
And it's just, it's hard. Yeah. And so setting up those boundaries, and if I had just listened to you, that would have turned out probably much better because we all wouldn't have been exhausted.
Write that down.
Yeah.
She admitted it on camera. And that's the communication and talking, that figuring out those boundaries. Sometimes you just have to try things.
Yeah.
Because we got done with church, we went home, packed up, and we took off, and kind of sucked because it's like, okay, we gave the kids all these great gifts and they didn't get to play. And it's like, okay, yay. Yeah. And so, yes, they got to see cousins, family, and all. Okay, cool. But yeah, there's different times of when holidays hit, especially Christmas, of what works.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that I think people often say that I hear a lot, like on social media when I talk about boundaries, is they're not biblical. And that Jesus would never have had boundaries. And it's hard for me to not like roll. I mean, obviously I do roll my eyes, but not to just like rail back at the person. Like, come on, you cannot possibly be reading the same Bible I am if you don't see that Jesus absolutely modeled boundaries. He regularly withdrew from the crowds to reset, to pray. And he often withdrew to, it says, lonely places. And so I am going to read a little section here from Mark chapter 1, verses 35 to 38. And it said, "And rising very early in the morning while it was still dark, he departed and went out to a desolate place, and there he prayed. And Simon and those who were with him searched for him, and they found him and said to him, 'Everyone is looking for you.' And he said to them, 'Let us go on to the next towns that I may preach there also, for that is why I came out.'" And so Jesus recognized that he had a purpose, and it was to preach to these crowds, but that's exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
And he needed these people he needed to show up the best that he could. He needed to be, completely capable and have his capacity full. And he couldn't do that if he hadn't spent time alone with the Father and then separated when he reached the limit.
Right.
And so learning to recognize those things, if Jesus modeled it, who do we think we are?
Yeah, that's the fun of that, right?
Yeah.
Learning from his stories, even his timing of things. We want set thing. Lazarus' story where Lazarus died. Mary and Martha said, "Hey, get here now. We need you here now." And he's like, "No, we're going to hold off." Kind of drew a boundary because I've got ministry I have to do. I've got something I've got to do. This isn't in your timing. You can't manipulate me.
Yeah.
I've got to do this and I'll show up and it's going to be better than what you ever thought.
Yeah. But those are, he's saying no to 3 of his best friends.
Yeah.
He is saying no to one of his best friends who is dying and to his sobbing sisters.
Right.
That's hard to do.
Yeah.
Jesus had a real boundary there.
He did.
And so you have to kind of take a step back from the scripture and look at it. But if Jesus is saying no to good things in order to pursue great things, sometimes we're going to have to do that too.
Yep.
Yeah. So Doctors Cloud and Townsend in their book Boundaries say, when we say no to people and activities that are not good for us, we are protecting God's investment in us. And that's what most Christians miss, is that Jesus paid the ultimate price for your life and he has a high call on you. And so when you say yes to good things, you are probably going to miss saying yes to great or amazing or incredible things because you're busy doing these just good things. And so you have to make space and you have to know your capacity and you have to be willing to say no to some good things in order to say yes to incredible things. So,
and going back to Jesus, even taking the time to stop. He was in human form, so his body needed the rest, same as we need the rest. So another part of saying, here, I'm going to draw the lines of that is a Sabbath and taking the time to be able to, let your body rest, be calm, and draw the line on a lot of things of I can give this many days, and if I don't stop and rest, then I'm not going to show up to my best for everything. And needs to be a principle of what's drawn out and a boundary drawn around that with a concrete wall to make sure it happens. And so make that a talking point and with your boundaries.
Yeah. And we're going to step on my toes significantly next week because we're going to do a full episode on Sabbath.
Good.
Especially in the holidays.
I'm going to sleep through it.
Yeah. Thanks, babe. Oh, maybe I'll have Adeline on instead of you. She's never met a Sabbath either. So.
Or Lincoln.
Yeah, Lincoln's much better at Sabbath.
He can take a Sabbath.
He is much better at resting. All right, so this next teaching point is boundaries without bitterness, and this is the one that I think most people really, the people who are on the receiving end of boundaries, can't wrap their minds around. But Lisa Turkhurst in her book, Good Boundaries and Goodbyes, says boundaries aren't meant to shove others away. They're meant to hold you together. And any boundary that is set out of anger isn't a boundary. It's a punishment. Right. And so that anger emotion is necessary when you're setting boundaries because it's telling you that you have overextended yourself emotionally, physically, however, it doesn't matter, spiritually sometimes. So it's a great indicator that you need a boundary, but that is not the position from which we should set the boundary. Right. It's just an indication that you need one. A really good boundary should be prayed over and carefully thought out, rehearsed, and then set to protect, not punish.
Yeah. And with that, be prepared because with family and you set up these boundaries, you're going to get pushed back. They're going to not understand some of the situations unless some real conversations have been happening. So be prepared for the pushback. Be prepared for the accusations of what could be accused of you holding back different things.
Or just that you're bitter and you're angry and you're
Right. So check your heart.
Yeah.
Make sure that's right. And like you said, practice it. Practice having the conversations. Find somebody to say, here's this. And when family's going to accuse you of saying something, what are you going to say? And with that, with love.
Yeah, and that's a really good point with love, because a boundary without love, if you try to set it without love, it's punishment. And so that also can be reversed, because love without boundaries is chaos.
Yeah.
And that is just as dangerous. So God is a God of order. And when we really stop and think about the way that he created this world and the incredible order and the incredible detail, we have to remember that is a reflection of the character of God. The enemy sets out to produce chaos and disorder of every kind. And so we can't let the enemy into our families to create chaos, because that creates pain. And then the cycle continues, because then you're perpetuating that onto your children.
Yep.
And so a boundary that we present in love and with the right motives and the right heart will protect your family over the long term. It protects you from chaos. It protects your children from hurt. It protects you from hurt. But you have to check your heart.
Yeah. Because the goal of this is peace, not perfection. Perfectionism is a subtle form of self-hatred and shame.
Yeah.
So whenever we think that our family events have to be all perfect and everything has to be perfect, then it's saying if we don't and it's not perfect, then I'm a terrible person and then I'm not good enough. And so it's not, the goal of all this is not to be perfect. It's to have peace.
Right.
And so we all show up to our best. Romans 12:18, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone.
Yeah.
Try to.
Yep. Try to. So one of the things that I would encourage you, if you're on your way to Thanksgiving dinner, or if you're getting ready for that, or maybe it's Christmas and you're headed to family members for Christmas, it's really important to kind of pre-decide a few phrases. And you can, they could be anything, but a few good ones would be, thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate you thinking of me. I won't be able to make it this year. It's that simple. Another one, if someone is talking about something and that makes you uncomfortable, just saying, I'm not comfortable discussing that.
Yeah.
And when they try to provoke you, I'm not comfortable discussing that.
Right.
And when they try to provoke you, you have the freedom. You're an adult. You can walk away. And you don't have to be goaded into discussing that, whatever that is.
Yeah. Well, if you don't feel comfortable, especially with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of things can make you uncomfortable at a, big family dinner. So another thing that is important to say is, I love you. And I need to leave this conversation right now. I can't do this right now.
Yeah.
Not saying that out of anger,
Right.
but truly just saying, I love you, but I'm going to have to leave right now.
And these are not simple things to just say and do. It takes a lot of courage. And with that also, there's a lot of hope at the end of this too.
Yeah.
So don't think that, oh, this is scary, and then they're going to tell me all this bad stuff. And then there is hope. Why? Because what we're going to also encourage you to do is pray before any of this happens.
Yeah.
And that, Holy Spirit, please give me the words of what I need to say, and let this be your will of what's taking place. Because without that part, Satan's going to tempt, and Satan's going to twist everything possible and make it into the worst situation that can be.
Exactly. So peace isn't found in keeping everyone happy. And I think that that's a common misconception.
Yep.
Because generally, if you're just trying to keep everyone happy, it's not going to work anyway.
Nope.
So peace isn't found in keeping everyone happy. It's found in obedience to what God has asked you to do. So that includes stewarding your time, your emotions, and your spiritual health well, even during the holidays.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So, I want to encourage you to listen to more of our episodes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. You can watch all of our past episodes, talk about hurt and establishing boundaries, parenting, overcoming the darkness. And we want to invite you also to curatedcoalition.com to go to our one-on-one coaching, book a free session today, and be able to help establish some of these boundaries of where they should be, get over some hurt and stop feeling guilty over a lot of the things that have happened in your life, and just get prepared for the holiday season.
Thanks for joining us for today's conversation. My hope is that you leave here reminded that whatever you're facing, you're not crushed, abandoned, or destroyed. That's the promise of 2 Corinthians 4:8 and 9, and the heartbeat of hope through the hard. Visit curatedcoalition.com for all of our coaching services or to book your free consultation. We'll see you next time.